a senior lawyer question.
Mm.
When you motion to compel or produce in a court case, does the FOIA legislation apply to any of that?
No.
So I'm not crazy then, because the judge is saying it does.
They're dumb.
It does not.
I explained that.
That's literally why court exists. When you do a motion to compel, they may decide under their discretion that, like, their limitation. Look, freedom.
They're citing that it does.
Ooh, wait. What case? What's the example?
Ava's it's the one Reggie Might versus Craig Barrett and Richard Dark. She's saying that it applies. The FOIA legislation applies in this context because I'm asking to unseal a witness statement, and that witness statement seems to be hinged on everything for the detainment and the subsequent search.
What?
So, yeah. Because other than the witness statement, all they have is twatter beef. And twatter beef.
I have a question though. Is this a witness statement that's contained within a police report?
You know, in the warrant. It was contained in the warrant.
You could have
FOIA'd
the warrant though, yeah? I think that they might be trying to say that.
It's been produced, but we're trying to unseal it in court. And she's saying she can't do that because of FOIA. Or produce any of the stuff that they're saying is an active investigation.
Well, FOIA is freedom of information, and it only applies to some things, and it doubly frees
Well, it
that
only applies
information.
to the scope of, I mean, we'll talk about this a little bit later. I don't want to spin on it too hard, but it only applies to the scope of what law enforcement can give and give out. That's the scope of the legislation. It literally talks about only them.
Okay. So
yeah, that's got nothing to, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think to keep it simple, motion to produce applies to everything. It is then up to the judiciary presiding judge to determine whether or not there is a need for that production. As an example, the FOIA legislation currently does not allow public access to investigative reports. However, if there is a investigative report that is related to your court case, right? Like your client, and they're not providing it, that's why you would do a motion to produce in order to have that information available. Otherwise, you're opening up for a mistrial.
That's what I literally did, was motion to produce and compel and unseal. And she's shackling herself by using the FOIA legislation as an excuse to not produce it.
What's the presiding justice or judge?
It's Judge Ava. I think, because she literally said it does apply to the citizen and it does apply
Hey,
to
Perry,
this.
I am currently in front of the monument in front of Mission Row PD.
Oh, yep, I know what it is.
Easy. All right.
I'll come down there.
Beautiful. See you in a bit.
We'll talk shop
Alright,
about
see you
it
in a bit.
later.
Right.
It's
Perry Watson who's the Sama head.
Yeah.
Is that who was popping off, or was it someone? Okay.
No,
it was
I was misinformed. Wait, go ahead. What was it? So what happened, Tony?
So, I mean, Jayna popped off yesterday, apparently. Maeve has the entire story because she was the one that was basically getting grilled. I came in halfway through after the pop-off, but people were asking questions about the new legislation proposed. And yeah, as expected, nobody was happy about it. A lot of
why?
slopes.
Why would they not be happy? Do they not want to investigate? Do they want to be robots?
They felt
Is
like
that what's
because
up?
of this that everything is legal to possess, and that there's no penalties for possessing government equipment.
There is. It's already legislated, and it's in there specifically, isn't it, Abilene?
Well, it's firearms, destructive devices. Government equipment is not specifically named in that. Neither is medical equipment, because
Yeah,
again,
the medical equipment is a big thing. That's what Genevieve was not happy about, because it doesn't list out what people can and can't have. Like if an EMS staff
we don't
was
need
robbed,
to. That's where Sama comes in.
right. I believe police equipment has its own. It's named out in a legislation.
Exactly. And even if it wasn't the firearms I mentioned, right? So vis-a-vis
the big thing is the one that I remember when people were telling me was that from what Maeve told me was that because they think because this isn't legislated, this penal code system doesn't count. Therefore, this also applies to murder. And then it was kind of that thought process to where Jayna blurted out, "You're legalizing murder."
Well, Jayna's a
And
dumb fuck, so we'll just establish that.
yeah. Jay and all, but
the thing is the big guns are going to be
so.
discussing this, and I think those that can't have like a literacy issue, that's not. I don't think we want to concern ourselves.
Yeah, but I'm saying like it was that was one of the crash outs from last night.
But here's,
what do you mean by
cops,
crash out though?
Sorry,
one sec. Hey, what's going on, Speedy?
Hey, what's up, Dino? How you doing, brother? Am I bothering you, right?
Just dealing with more DOJ fucking dumb fuckery.
All right, you want to give me a call when you're done with that? I got a small business proposal for you, and then I want to talk a little bit.
Beautiful. We'll do.
Oh, yeah, brother.
All right.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
So here's the other side to this. I need to get this out here, is that we haven't released the illegally prohibited items schedule yet. That's named in that legislation. That's something we're working on. I don't know if we're gonna do it like grafting or line by line, but the police equipment stuff is the stuff that we were gonna inherently, all that stuff that's named to be illegal, we're plugging in there, right? Because it's already.
I mean, it goes beyond. The reality is though, like, it already sounds like it's dumb fuck arguments, right? The basis of all this is. We are forced to do this because the DOJ is retarded.
Let me define the crash out. The crash out was basically it was so bad enough that like it was as you expected emotional responses, but it was like a lot of back and forth to the point where even like Skyface just sat in the meeting and said, "Guys, Maeve has a talking stick right now." Like it got to that point because people were just shouting over each other rather than having a discussion. I know Oxby piped up a little bit, but I couldn't hear all of it. But I think it's more of the line of thinking of, well, if there's no legislated, then everything's legal to have, then everything is legal, then we can't do anything, and we're gonna be a loot box and all that stuff.
It's brain dead. They have a Sama head. They need to stop being stupid, and don't argue with stupid people. It's just gonna drag you down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's why I kept quiet, because I sat there. I had no context of the situation, and I mean, Michael said it best, right? If you try to, level off.
I don't think Maeve should have. I think Maeve kind of. If I'm going to be honest, I appreciate what Maeve was trying to do, but she probably should not have been the one presenting it. She, like, it would have, like myself, Michael, Abilene, the writers, because she's kind of got third-hand knowledge. So.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did she like step up to a podium and attempt to present it, or was she just ambushed and grilled? What's this?
I'm not sure, but
she presented
Shifter
it.
usually runs with like, oh, hey, by the way, this got posted. But I think she intended to just say this got posted. And also, people were just like, they had pitchforks and everything, and she ended up just being on the hot seat.
Yeah, ideally, she just said like, I don't have all the information. You can, you know what I mean? It's I mean, it's a misstep, right?
Yeah,
but it's not the end of the world.
Nah, I think it's more so like the way they reacted, because it was crazy.
The other
I think she just got roped into it. And
the other answer, if someone asked about police equipment, is that that legislation specifically targets personal property. Now, who would the personal property of police equipment be?
Well, that's exactly it. It's irrelevant. Like I said, it's covered because they have serial numbers and shit, right? So
there's no civilian who's
you
gonna
literally
have,
go, hey, did you give him this? No, it's now you go to jail. Like,
yeah, it's the personal property.
And they charge
of the police.
based on probable cause, anyways.
Well, I told them, like, if you're that concerned with this different line of question or like line of logic, like literally says proceeds of a crime is exempt from this legislation. Like, if you have a EMS staff that says,
let's stop. I don't want to engage in
I'm just saying there's multiple things that covers it.
Fuck it. It's like we're gonna give ourselves a headache trying to understand stupid. You know what I mean? So, with that said, I want to hit some of the key points. Sama head, Perry's coming this way. I'm going to give her kind of a TLDR on things. Okay, so there was a response to the Right to Property Act. The response was, this legislation will be presented to the state as in the past. The findings and limiting parts of the Constitution have been deemed unconstitutional. Please be patient as a member of the state addresses this. The best way I then asked, like, what does any of this mean? I have an idea, and it's kind of weird. So, any discussion around we'll talk about that in a second.
Hello there.
Hey, how are you doing?
Yo.
I'm doing good. Other than the chaos of what happened yesterday with your legislation.
So yeah, understandable. So here's kind of the what's happened here is over the course of the last 3 months, dating back to when Director Angel began to heavily oppress the state through what she defined as the DOJ having uncontested legislative authority, meaning that herself and her compatriots were signing things into law and out of existence at a whim, based on their personal opinions.
Is this fucking Russia? Like, what?
Let me get through the story, just so. As a consequence of this, we went through the proper procedure of contesting that very authority. The DOJ then pushed our argument to the state. In turn, we received a letter from the state explaining in very clear English that the DOJ, and there should be a copy of it in the little email exchange thing we got. If not, I can send you another copy of it. Which made it very clear that the DOJ's authority is around judicial matters, right? And specifically, I'll quote it. It is over legal and judicial matters. And it goes on and actually expands on what exactly that means. The TLDR is that they see a court case based on the interpretation of what laws currently exist. They can make a ruling on it and it becomes case law. During that conversation, only one of the justices still remains from it. However, the ruling of it was the DOJ are not legislators, right? They don't get to determine what is legal and illegal outside of a courtroom. As a consequence of this, we spent the next 3 months. It should have been done within a month, but 3 months were taken where the DOJ sort of dragged out compiling the legislative process document, the one that outlines like how SAMA, how the mayor's office, how the DOJ passes new legislation forward. Our office allowed them, and I want to underline this, despite it not being in their purview, we granted them and said, you know what, we want you to push legislation as well. But you get to follow the same rules that SAMA does and the mayor's office. Is we want to make a change. We present it to City Hall. It can get codified. People can contest it. And if it gets into law, it becomes law. And the second part of it was that I didn't want this weird environment where people don't talk in the city. And that if someone, and in turn, if someone contests something, they have to publicly, in a hearing, bring up why they don't like the legislation. So for example, let's say you wanted to like illegalize cigarettes, right, as SAMA, and like my office contested it or someone else had to contest it, they would have to go to a hearing with you present, and they would say, you know what, I like smoking cigarettes, it's my right, da 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 da. And if there wasn't compromise that came out of it, where you're like, okay, you know, maybe we're going to limit to a pack or whatever, and let's say there was no compromise to the writing you did, it would go up to public vote. And so this was the agreed upon system. Following this, as soon as our term began, this term 3, they dumped a bunch of new documents on us. There was the 3 documents. And we heavily scrutinized it because they were giving themselves the language that they were using in there gave themselves very broad powers. Hence why myself, Abilene, Maeve, Michael, we just cooked it to make sure.
You guys scrutinizing the hell out of it.
Yes.
Going through it all.
And because we were like, we don't want a round 2. We don't want like this confusion. We want things to move forward. But there was a specific line in there talking about the penal code. And we still have the comments. And specifically in there, there was a line mentioning that the DOJ could change the penal code and whatever, right? And the conversation that happened both on that document and in person in that meeting room was that they needed some of the ability to change the penal code in the event something needed to emergency change. Or like, you know, there's like fucking like a nuclear bomb and they have to legalize the possession of it. You know what I mean? And they can't wait an entire week for it to go through the process. We said, okay, that kind of makes sense. We could like vote on it in the room and go from there. And this is with Judge Weiss. The last meeting we had, not this past Friday, but the Friday before that, they presented the penal code changes, and they mentioned it at the very end of the meeting, where they told me and Mumbles to reset our sliders, and they said we want to adjust the fine in time.
I remember them saying like about penal, like they're thinking about penal code stuff. I remember that.
Yep. And then all of a sudden, they went and dropped the bomb and added a bunch of new charges, illegalizing wingsuits, laptops, PNY cards that G6 legally can get. Just all this kind of stuff that is completely, number one, goes against what Weiss promised us, comes across as deceitful as fuck, because we gave them, we didn't want to make this shit more complicated, right? So we left the wording in as it was, and they went and just fucking blackballed everybody. Now, our concern was this is as follows. Is the DOJ, in my opinion, is acting against the Constitution with that decision. Because number one, it is not their constitutional authority to dictate what is legal and what is illegal, especially going against the right to property, which is a constitutional right of everyone in the city. And it completely circumvents SAMA. It circumvents my office. It circumvents Mumble's office. It circumvents the authority of every citizen in San Andreas. And they have an avenue. If they needed to make jump boots illegal, they just need to preside over a court case where the evidence is shown. Or alternatively, pass legislation making certain things that they believe to be from the cargo ship illegal. And so I tried to have this the meeting we had on Friday. The reason I didn't go to it is I was beyond exhausted and beyond triggered. Because
Jackie
I can only
inform me that you did go and rest in the ICU.
I'm sorry?
Jackie did inform me. He said like Nino is resting.
Yes. I was having like hot palpitations.
Yeah.
Like the amount of energy and time we've invested to work with these guys, for them to do something so fucking nasty as Junior, said, it feels like right out of a Russian playbook. Fuck everybody. We're going to decide what is legal and what is illegal. It's disgusting to me, because it now opens a door that these dumb fucks, and I'm going to call them dumb fucks. I'm like mask off at this point for me, are saying that they could, tomorrow you could wake up and they've decided that purple hats are illegal and nothing's going to stop it. And it completely, gives me nightmares of what we were dealing with, you know, with the last DOJ. Now, I didn't go to the meeting because it was gonna go bad. You know what I mean? I was gonna pop the fuck off, and I'm a believer in that. If you're pissed, let yourself, relax, get your thoughts together, and then, re-engage.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I had to call Arcadia, and while in ICU, I explained I couldn't go to it, and I don't know if that phone call was made in the room or whatever, and I could sway you up and down. I could not even explain my position without being interrupted over and over again until...
She did leave the room, but we could hear her screaming.
Yeah.
On the phone.
Well, that's the worst part. I have 5 witnesses that heard me talking. I was calm, collected. I got interrupted like a dozen times while trying to explain my position. And it was all kinds of like, oh my God, I tried to work for you. You didn't communicate with us. Why'd you send out a state announcement? I'm like, ma'am, I'm the mayor of the city. I address the public. I'm not going to come and say, hey, ma'am, hey, judge, can I send this announcement? No, you did something egregious. And I need to let the public know that we are looking into it. And that should not be offensive to you. Unfortunately, it turned into, she told me I raised my voice after being interrupted fucking 12 times. And she then retold the story to Faulkner, and per his words, I was screaming at her, which I can tell you wasn't the case, as Junior was there, Tony was there, and 3 others, Jason, etc. There was no screaming. So as to why this Right to Property Act has come into place, I, number one, didn't want to have to do it because I think the way that things should work is the way that we have all agreed was going to work, is that if things need to be illegalized, police are going to investigate. It's going to go to court. Case law is going to be made. Alternatively, the respective departments go to their respective mayors and make an argument. And either in conjoinment with them, pass legislation. In the same way as if a police department found some new drug on the street, they go to SAMA and they're like, hey, can you test this medically? And then it gets added to the schedule. It's not that some fucking dumb fuck marshal, right, which is the case here because Turner and the LSPD knew nothing about these changes, is that some dumb fuck marshal goes to a judge and says some cringe argument like jump boots only come from the cargo ship. Like fucking yikes, bro. And they decide, you know what, that's good enough for us, we're gonna legalize it. It's so fucking cringe. And it's unfortunately that's where it's at with all of this. So the Right to Property Act makes it so that things are legal to possess until legislation backs it. And it's unfortunately we have to write it this way, but we're sort of, in my opinion, dealing with I don't know what I'm dealing with, to be honest. It's to me it's clear as day that they're outside the bounds of their authority. But anyways, that's where we're coming from.
Now I've had an explanation from you. That makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Because I just heard, we're gonna loot, like everyone's gonna be able to possess medical equipment and stuff, and I will admit I did freak out yesterday, but that's why I didn't contact you straight away.
Understandable. It is not our intention.
It's like
we actually wrote it in a way where, so you have IFACs today, right? Those or tourniquets, maybe?
We have IFACs, tourniquets, splints, tweezers.
Yes.
And a few other things.
So some of those things are serialized. And
the IFACs, splints, and tourniquets are serialized.
Yes. And so we actually address this in the legislation. So it's still illegal to steal it, right?
Mm.
So you merely having an IFAC isn't illegal, right? In fact, but if I were to take that IFAC from you, right, at gunpoint, and I'm arrested, and I have an IFAC with your serial number on it, it's still illegal because I'm not authorized. SAMA, everyone knows that you're like, hospital staff can't give it out. So now either I'm going to be arrested for possession, having stolen it or acquired it illegally, or a doctor is going to jail because they sold or provided something to someone that shouldn't have had it in their possession. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
So,
in any case, it's not personal property of the person who stole it. That's stolen goods or non-issued piece of equipment. It doesn't belong to them.
yes.
If jump boots were like a serialized thing that only the police got, then that would also apply there.
Yep.
Nobody knows where they come from.
Yeah.
Maybe the Nike store. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That is actually fair.
I mean, inherently, the Constitution protects people to the right to property. We've only expanded on this on legislation because due to what I am going to state is a literacy issue with it among the DOJ. To paint perspective, nobody voted them in. They voted themselves in. And for them to have authority over everybody is cooked. Especially when, and I'm going to provide actually a key example, and I tried to tell Faulkner this, is consider for a moment that they made G6 PNY cards illegal. I'm a tier 3 G6 worker. I get PNY cards simply from doing the job. Now, their counter argument was that, well, people talked to us and we fixed it. See, everything's good. No, it's not good, because that's why we have a means there. It's why we have a scrutiny process with the city hall, so that the public, the legislative officials can review it and solve these things before they get introduced into law. Because if someone got arrested in that 24, 48 hours, they'd be going to jail for no reason. And random conversations you're having with random people should not be dictating how the law is written. That's just doesn't make any sense, right? So, yeah. Now,
No, stuff like that should be discussed amongst everyone beforehand.
yeah.
Especially when it comes to, like, I didn't even know about the G6 stuff because I've never done G6.
Yeah.
I've never really talked to anyone who's done G6, so I didn't even know about that stuff until I was told about it.
It's to me, it's them saying we are gods. We decide what is, and honestly, there's way too much marrying between the PD and the justices, right? I understand that there is a belief that everyone in the city who's not working for the government is a criminal, right? And that their opinion doesn't matter. That's kind of the vibe I get from this. Because how does somebody get, like, having to defend your liberty and your property is such a basic tenet in Western culture. And for those decisions to be made strictly through law enforcement at a whim sort of like undermines our very system. So that's my position on all this, quite frankly. And, I think given my appointment of Turner as chief of police and a recent us bringing in Justice Bailey into the LSPD as a legal advisor, I think it should be very clear to anyone sober that, I'm not this, like, criminal demon. You know what I mean? Otherwise, these people wouldn't be there to begin with.
I mean, that's fair. In saying that, PD thinks that all doctors are criminals, so... yeah.
Yeah, it's,
That's a story for another time, but yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. I have never done an ounce of crime in the 8 years I've lived in this city. And I've been called a criminal. So
yeah, I don't stand by that. In fact, I expect the LSPD to have a significantly higher standard. If people are not afforded the that people are by default innocent, then especially by those that have authority over you and have the ability to detain you, put you in jail, they do not fit the criterion needed to be law enforcement. And to be very transparent with you, Perry, given what just happened, I actually am going to be pushing that justices become a lot more elected than what it currently stands. I'm probably going to put something forward in the next week or two, mostly because I think a single body of people bringing in those that share the same political mind is absolutely gross and not representative of the state. My bare bones proposition that I'm likely going to make is that after a certain tenured amount of time for someone being a magistrate or a judge, that they are in some fashion elevated to become a justice, thus allowing the DOJ to be like more mimicking of that of the like United States or Canada or whatever, where it's a broad spectrum of opinion, and votes among them become meaningful and not unanimous.
And the discussions are will be a lot smoother sometimes.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
And this is, mind you, to protect judges that currently exist in the DOJ. Some have already been scared off due to the odd politics that have been happening.
Yeah.
And so, Notice, thank you for the 18 months.
I have been trying to write legislation and stuff. I have 4 pieces that are on the final hurdle, and a rewrite to the OOPS legislation, which should hopefully also cover the possession stuff.
That is fantastic.
So that should hopefully protect people with the IFACs, tourniquets, splints, but it's also going to mix in the fact of the first aid certed DOC and LEOs, because they also have them as well. So once I get that fully done and written, I'll send it your way.
Okay.
I'll send all of them your way, so you guys can have a read of them, so you guys can see, and give your comments and feedback on it as well.
Absolutely, I'd love to. Yeah, well, I'm a very strong supporter of medical equipment. I mean, that's all under your wheelhouse. My only recommendation would be that it may be worthwhile in that legislation expanding on the details of why, for example, a tourniquet is illegal, right? As I know myself, tourniquets are not something that any bozo can use. That's how you kill someone, right?
I've seen police officers put it somewhere where they really should not.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Multiple times.
Wait, you've seen it?
Sorry.
The people have used tourniquets improperly, like on the neck or some shit?
Oh, yes. I have heard from multiple EMS. They've, I think, about 5-6 times. And yeah, they put them around the necks. They were like, yeah, they had a head wound. I just put the tourniquet around their neck.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Most of all, it's illegal because it is government issued equipment, not for civilian use. And that's all that needs to be said. And right now, even if our legislation passed, it never affected the illegality of government issued or hospital issued medical equipment. That's
yeah.
Because again, that's not anyone's personal property, but hospital or the police. So I wouldn't rack your brain too hard on if you want to expound further and say because people hurt each other with it, but simply put, it's government issued equipment, not for civilian use. Illegal.
Well, yeah. One thing, there was mention about like murder becoming legalized. This is only property related. There will likely be some other piece of legislation that's going to be put forward that gives. Oh. All right. Sorry for cutting you off there, Junior. I just want to make sure I got through the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so just when they said that, I was like, there's no fucking way, bro. It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, I think some of these justices took the job off of Angel's old cookbook that wasn't up to date. There's no other way to slice it. Like, no one in their right mind should think a justice just at whim just throws shit into the penal code. It's wild.
There has been a unique vein of toxicity that has been failed to be stomped out.
Yeah, it's the coupling of like the victim complexity also is concerning. It makes like having an adult conversation very difficult, right? Like having to navigate feelings and emotions and shit like that in an intellectual conversation on politics is just not something I'm interested in. It's just, I don't know.
No. And furthermore, let's pretend we never heard any rumors about what happened in any meeting yesterday. Let's just erase that. Has anyone reached out formally apart from
people are looking to kill judges and the police over this shit.
Has anyone from the DOJ reached out and expressed something such as
I spoke to Faulkner as yesterday Lang was arrested with a laptop. It was then asserted because of the new contraband legislation that it was illegal for the mere possession. It went to bench trial. I don't know the full context of what happened there outside of Princess telling me that apparently Faulkner opened up the laptop to find a hacking device on it, which led me to say, yeah. And I'm just like standing there like, huh? So I'm going to speak to Lang on the matter because I want to hear it firsthand. I spoke to Faulkner and that's when he told me, you should have been at the meeting. You were 20 minutes. He's playing stupid games and I wouldn't let him. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, stupid games. Yeah, I know those.
And I said, I spoke to him like an adult speaking to his son, exactly what my position was. And it was very clear he disagreed with it, but it doesn't matter how much he disagrees with it. He couldn't compute. I think he knows he's in the wrong and he's trying to defend the indefensible is what it is. Is that it is not the role of justices to decide at whim what is legal and what is not legal. And to think so is to ignore every bit of work that we've all done over the last 6 months and every discussion that's been had. How you doing, Michael?
Good, thanks. You?
Yeah, not too
Even
bad.
the fact that they were like, oh, we had some discussions with some randoms, like it just shows how whimsical they've made the penal code approaching in this fashion. It just skips a lot of things, even with the Lang thing you mentioned with the BCS or I don't know, with them skipping the entire thing of just saying, well, because this says this, we don't have to investigate it. The laptop's inherently illegal.
Yeah, it dilutes the city. This is that mere action dilutes our legal system into something worse than. I haven't seen something like that since 2 fucking economies ago. Type shit, you know what I mean? Fuck investigations. But we spoke to somebody. What the fuck is that? Wait, so PD no longer needs to investigate? They just need to be like, please, Papa, Mama, Justice, this is illegal. Trust me, bro. Like, what the fuck?
Well, it's just crazy how so few can have such a strong voice over the city.
But they don't, right?
I'm saying that's how their viewpoint on it is. They only talk to you, but no, in reality, it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, it's I don't think these people are suitable for the position, quite frankly. I think they just want the power, and they want to. That's it. I don't. They need an orientation on what their job actually is. Like, bro, go have court cases. Write case law. Where's your fucking case law? Right? Why do they keep meddling in everyone else's shit? I don't get it.
July 13th, that was their last case law.
Fucking bro.
That was my case law. That was Suarez's.
Anyways. Yeah, I don't know, man. So, oh yeah, Sama Head is over here. I just got done explaining things to her, but she had a bit of a head pop, so we're just kind of waiting for her.
Oh, okay. July 13th. That is, I think I've written more legislation that's never seen the light of day than they've enacted through the judicial system. That's fucking impressive.
I don't know. That's so crazy. I was talking to Abilene about how we should consider actually impeaching the judges over this.
Mm-hmm.
And further, that we should have legislation that prevents any adding, removing, or altering of the penal code absent of one or both of the mayors signing it into law, or through case law, or through legislation. That simple, and pushing it forward.
It's sad that we have to do that, because that is the legislative proposal and approval process.
I know.
So Michael, this is where we were really hoping for your input, because you heard what just said, right? Is that not, and he wants, okay, so his idea is to kind of redundantly scope in and separate that and publish a document potentially, but is that not what is stated in the current legislation?
It is, yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
So
And this
Michael,
redundancy is because they can't fucking read or comprehend.
do you think this is needed, Michael?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what's needed anymore. I don't.
That's not helpful.
I don't know how I can be helpful. I've tried to be helpful for 7 months, and here we are running it back for a third fucking time.
So it's needed, you're saying?
If
you don't know, then it's yes.
What precedent do we have that says if we write this down with smaller words, they'll understand this time?
True. It's a comprehension issue.
It is. That's it. I've had this conversation with a very, very close friend of mine as recently as today. And I said, we've done it once. We've done it twice. I don't know that I have it in me to do it a third time, because nothing to me says any amount of effort we put into it is going to result in a resolution. We're just going to end right back up here again. And I think the reason for that is because while the names of the justices have changed, while the faces have changed, the people that are there right now are a byproduct of what came before them. They were appointed by the people who came before, and they were appointed because they were like-minded.
Yeah.
They shared in the same morals and values. They bent the knee, and they got appointed because of that. So I'm not sure that this is something that you solve through legislation. I think this is, number one, a culture issue, and number two, a personnel issue.
The other thing I was contemplating here, Michael, is setting forth not just term limits, but a selection process for the justices based on some criterion.
Here are my thoughts on that. If they are going to have some role in the lawmaking process, lawmaking should inherently be reflective of the will of the people. So if they want to exert their power, their authority, and their force on the people should have some say in that process.
Agreed.
So I agree entirely.
Yeah. I think it's funny. Do you remember that one line that I pointed out that was in their document in regards to how they choose a director. And I said, man, they are really, it's like a Freudian slip where they said that they will unanimously decide who the director is. And that one line in and of itself kind of showed their mentality, is that they already preconceived themselves to be able to collectively decide on a singular director.
Yep.
Like that. If someone sat there and typed out that sentence and thought, yes, this makes sense, you know that came from a cooked position.
Yep. I said as much this morning in a conversation. I said part of the issue with the DOJ is that there is no dissent among the ranks. There is no differing of opinion. They are all cut from the same cloth. And that is not representative of the people. That's not representative of the complexion of the city.
No. I think what makes it further is a further issue is what do you call it? It's worse than that, because as we've had issues 3+ months ago, they're independently promising us shit, but conveniently forgetting it as a collective, which is how we're back over here. Because Weiss stood in that room and swore up and down, as did Grayson, that these things were not going to be abused, and here we are, right? So, none of this was presented last week. Like, there was an opportunity to discuss, hey, these are coming up. And so for me to hear, well, it's like I got, like you slapped me on the face, Nino, and I'm like, what do you think you did to everybody else? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not communication. That's you're backdooring something and then, asking for forgiveness later. But instead of forgiveness, you're acting like a victim. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's situations like that where none of it was brought forward. Why I take such issue with Arcadia saying something like, speaking transparently.
Yeah.
And as I so aptly put it, she wouldn't know transparency if she was staring through a fucking window.
Well, so I don't recall, Perry, where we left off with the conversation.
I don't either.
So
I know I was talking about something, I just forgot what we were talking about.
Absolutely. I think in the grand scheme of things, we are empowering the legislative bodies to be able to put forward what is and what is not illegal, while allowing the DOJ to continue, as by design, illegalizing things via case law. We just got done pointing out that there hasn't been new case law in 9 months. So they have ample avenue to make the decisions that they need to make. There may be some things here and there, and we did consider this, right? That this act might legalize things that aren't like explicitly clearly illegal, but those are things that, we're going to be working with the police department to iron out over the coming days. So
yeah, also if you need any legalese advice and writing anything up, you can feel free to call me anytime, and I'll would be more than glad to help you with that. If the hospital has their own lawyer, I would suggest that too. But I'm going to tell you, all anyone's expecting with this is 5 minutes worth of 3 sentences. This is illegal. This is government issued equipment. Blah blah blah. Here, hereby stated by the director of SOMA, etc. There doesn't. You don't need to do research. Let's put it that way.
Oh no, that something was in the works of the past 2 weeks. I'm just stuck waiting for the board of directors to approve this stuff.
Wait, really? Why not?
Yeah.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I'm not a board of director.
I feel like as SOMA head, you should be able to. Well,
by the Constitution wording, I have to work with the heads of each department.
Oh, I see. That makes sense.
I'm just the legislative authority.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the SAMA director isn't just the chair of the board for the duration of their term. That's what I would do personally.
That's what everyone was surprised at. I like even just as Arcadia was surprised when I said no. I'm just the legislative authority. I work with the chief of EMS and the board of directors to help do all this, but I'm just the legislative authority. I can just say you shouldn't do something like this and recommend stuff as the ERP head as well, the ethics review panel.
Yeah.
So just enlighten us. Who would be the sole responsible person to push the legislation to City Hall? Is it you once you get a sign off?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah.
All right.
It's me. I still push that stuff off.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just
that's.
need them to go. Is this okay? Like, but I'm the oops one. I'm just gonna push straight away because it's just a rewording and reworking of the original one.
Okay. You mentioned waiting to hear back. Has this been a prolonged period of time, or we're just talking a day or two or hours? And
since I updated it, it's been almost a day. They said, "Yep, we'll look at it," and has not responded since. So I'm gonna try and chase them up again.
I would love my perfect vision, my ideal vision for the city. Less red tape, more mobility, more discussion in the city. Let things flow. You know what I mean? That's how the city feels alive. And as was discussed months ago on these kind of topics, what is the worst that's going to happen? Oh, no, someone, something didn't work out perfectly. Oh, heaven forbid. You know what I mean? Like, people murder people and get out of prison after a week. You know what I mean? What's a little bit of discontent? And so
I mean, fair.
Yeah.
Well, easily remedy discontent too, because all we're saying is, you're a legislative authority. Push out your stuff. Small paragraphs, a few lines. That's it.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what I'm gonna try and do.
Hell yeah.
So hopefully in the next week I should have 5 pieces going out.
Oh shit. I would very much recommend putting out what you can. Oh, they're all pending.
So 2 of them are pending. One of them's being reviewed by the board of directors. One of them's being reviewed by the EMS chief.
I gotcha.
The other 2 is one of them is the pharma legislation that Naya did, that I've reworked and made a legislation about licensed pharmacists within the hospital and the penalties they will get as well.
Yeah.
Depending. Going by what the reasoning they gave originally for it being denied before.
I'd be very cautious of dropping it all at once, because I think there's like a multiplicative.
I'm not gonna drop it.
Yeah.
Drop 2 within one day. It would become a 6-day period.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I already know that side of things. So, I know it's just I just have the waiting period if going by the legislative thing.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I don't have the contestation period anymore.
Yep. Very true.
So hopefully, I'll do it over a couple days, but we'll see.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, anything else we want to kind of discuss?
I have a thought.
Ooh. All right. Let's hear it.
What about instead of pursuing things like ACRs and whatnot, we just petition for a constitutional amendment?
Which is?
That removes the words legislative authority from the description of the DOJ.
No, that's overcooked.
Think so?
I don't think that I think the DOJ having an avenue by which they are able to proposed legislation is a good thing.
I agree. But I think clarifying that statement, not necessarily removing it, but clarifying it in the Constitution, so we're not having these conversations over and over again about what does this mean.
I read it yesterday, and it does
Just one sec.
narrow it